My son-in-law jeered at dinner. You're useless. Then I unveiled. The silver fork hit my grandmother's china with a sound like a gunshot, and my son-in-law Derek leaned back in his chair with that smirk he always wore when he was about to destroy something. Useless, he said, chewing a piece of my rosemary lamb. Absolutely useless. I had spent 6 hours on that lamb. 6 hours marinating, seasoning, checking the temperature every 12 minutes because I remembered that Carl, my husband of 32 years, liked his meat medium rare. And even though Carl had been dead for 12 years, I still cooked like he was coming home from the construction site. You can't even carve a roast properly, Margaret. Derek stabbed the meat with his fork and held it up, letting the juices drip onto the white tablecloth. Look at this. Raw in the middle. You could resuscitate it and put it back in the pasture. I looked at the lamb. It was perfect. Exactly the way he had requested on the phone 3 weeks ago when Emily called to arrange this dinner. I had written his instructions on a yellow sticky note and stuck it to the refrigerator. The note was still there, curling at the edges, but I didn't need it. I remembered everything. Dad, Lily said from the kitchen doorway, her hands gripping a water pitcher so tight her knuckles had gone white. Grandma made it exactly how you asked. I heard you on the phone. Derek didn't even turn to look at his daughter. Don't talk back, Lily. You're a child. You don't understand adult things. Emily, my only daughter, sat across from me with her hands folded in her lap like she was praying. Her face was pale, the same pale she got when she was 12 and told me she'd failed her math test. I wanted to reach across the table and touch her wrist, tell her it was all right, tell her I'd seen worse than Derek's mouth. But I stayed still that this was not my first dinner with Derek. It was not even the worst dinner with Derek. There was the Thanksgiving 3 years ago when he complained about my stuffing being too dry, and then ate 3 servings. There was the Easter when he told me my floral arrangements looked like something from a discount funeral home. And there was the Christmas when he announced, in front of the entire family, that I should probably move into assisted living so Emily and he could have their lives back. That Christmas I had smiled and said, I'll consider it, Derek. And then I had gone home and cried in the garage, sitting on Carl's old workbench, holding the blue-painted safe he had bought at a flea market and pretending it was him. But tonight felt different. Tonight felt like the last straw. You know what, Margaret? Derek wiped his mouth with my linen napkin and threw it onto the plate. The napkin landed on the chipped porcelain, the blue forget-me-not rim I had been so careful to preserve. You've been leeching off us for years. The free babysitting. The Sunday dinners. The emergency loans Emily keeps giving you because you can't afford your property taxes. It's pathetic. You're pathetic. I felt something shift in my chest. Not anger. It was quieter than that. It was like a door closing. A door I hadn't even realized was opened up. Derek, I said, and my voice came out soft, almost gentle. The same voice I used when Lily scraped her knee or when Emily had nightmares. What exactly do you think I am useless for? He laughed. A real laugh, loud and hollow, bouncing off the walls of my dining room. Bouncing off the grandmother clock that Carl had spent 6 months restoring. What do? You water your little petunias. You bake casseroles for the church potluck. You watch murder mysteries and crochet blankets for homeless kittens. You are a retired floral assistant with a social security check and a leaky roof. You are a burden. A burden, I repeated. I tasted the word on my tongue, rolling it around like a piece of tough meat. That's what you think I am. I don't think it. I know it. And I'm tired of pretending otherwise. Lily set the water pitcher down with a thud. Dad, stop. Stop it right now. Sit down, Lily. No. Derek's face went red. The same red it got when he was about to yell at Emily for spending too much on groceries, or when he complained about the neighbor's dog barking. I said, sit down. Dad, Lily's voice cracked. You're being horrible. Grandma is not a burden. She taught me how to make pie. She came to my school play when you were too busy. She helps me with my homework and she braids my hair, and she gives me hugs when I'm sad. She's not useless. She's everything. I felt a tear slip down my cheek. I wiped it away with the back of my hand, quick and discreet, like I used to wipe away tears when Carl was dying and I didn't want him to see me cry. Emily finally spoke. Derek, please. The girls are here. This isn't the time. There's never a good time, Emily. Your mother is delusional. She thinks she's still a contributing member of society, but she's just a charity case. And I'm tired of funding her fantasy. Funding, I said. Derek, you have never given me a single dollar. Emily has given me money, yes. But that's my daughter's money, not yours. You don't earn enough to fund anything. His face twitched. A tiny, almost imperceptible twitch, but I had been reading faces for 67 years. I knew what it meant. He was embarrassed. And when Derek was embarrassed, he got cruel. Is that what you think? You think I don't provide for this family? He slammed his fist on the table. The china plates rattled. Lily flinched. Emily flinched too. And something inside me crumbled. You provide nothing, I said quietly. You take, Derek. You take and you take and you take, and then you call other people useless for not giving you more. He stood up. His chair scraped the floor. I am the man of this house. This is my house, I said. These are my plates. This is my table. And you are a guest. A guest who has overstayed his welcome. The words hung in the air like smoke. I saw Lily's eyes widen. I saw Emily's mouth open and close like a fish gasping for air. And I saw Derek's face transform from anger into something else. Something that looked almost like fear. You don't know what you're talking about, Margaret. You're just a bitter old woman who can't stand to see her daughter happy. Happy, I laughed. It was not a kind laugh. It was the laugh I had been holding in for 10 years. Do you think Emily is happy? Derek, do you think she's happy being talked to like a servant? Do you think she's happy watching her daughter shrink every time you raise your voice? She's not happy. She's surviving. Just like me. Emily started crying. Silent tears rolling down her cheeks, dripping off her chin onto the blue forget-me-nots. Mom, please, she whispered. Please don't. Don't what, sweetheart, don't tell the truth, don't defend myself. I've been quiet for 10 years. 10 years I've watched him take and take and take. I've given him money. I've given him time. I've given him my daughter's happiness. And tonight I'm done giving. Derek pointed a finger at me. You are a toxic influence on this family. I have a mind to sue you for defamation. Defamation, I said. You can't sue me for saying the truth, Derek. And the truth is that you married Emily for her inheritance. The truth is you used my retirement savings to settle a malpractice complaint. The truth is you've been waiting for me to die so you can sell this house and pocket the money. The room went silent. The clock ticked. The refrigerator hummed. And for the first time in 10 years, I saw Derek Collins speechless. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. He looked at Emily. He looked at Lily. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. You're lying, he finally said. You're old and confused. You're making things up. Am I? I reached down beside my chair and pulled out a thick manila folder. I had been holding it under the table for the entire meal. I had been waiting for the right moment. And this was it. I opened the folder and pulled out a bank statement. A letter from the dental board. A signed receipt from a patient who had almost sued him for malpractice. Copies of everything I had kept hidden for a decade. I'm not confused, Derek. I'm not delusional. And I'm definitely not useless. I slid the papers across the table toward him. Take a look. These are the records of every penny I gave you. Every lie I covered up. Every favor I did for a man who didn't deserve a single one of them. Derek stared at the papers. His face went white, then red, then white again. It was like watching a traffic light malfunction. This is? He stammered. This is fabricated. You forged these. Forged, Derek, you're a dentist. You know what a bank statement looks like. I turned to Emily. I gave him $50,000 to make that patient go away. $50,000. My retirement savings. All because I believed you loved him. I believed he would change. I believed he would be grateful. Emily pressed her hand to her mouth. Mom, I didn't know. I didn't know any of this. Of course you didn't. I kept it from you because I wanted you to be happy. I thought if you didn't know you could stay happy. But I was wrong. You were never happy. You were just surviving. Derek stood up again. I'm leaving. I'm not going to sit here and listen to this. Derek, I said, and my voice was no longer soft, no longer gentle. Sit down. He didn't move. I said sit down. Something in my voice made him freeze. He looked at me, and for the first time I saw him look at me not as a burden, not as a charity case, but as someone he might have actually underestimated. I pulled out another piece of paper from the folder. It was a deed. Certified, stamped, and signed 3 months ago. I had been waiting for this moment. I transferred this house to Lily on her 14th birthday, I said. It's in a trust. She can't sell it until she's 25. And you can't touch a single brick of it. Not now, not ever. Lily gasped. Grandma, you gave me your house. Every square inch. Every rosebush. Every chipped plate. Every memory. I looked at my granddaughter. I wanted you to have something that no one could take away from you. Something that would always be yours. Something that would always be safe. Derek snatched the deed from my hand. His eyes darted across the page. This is real, he whispered. This is actually real. Yes, I said. It's real. And so am I. I'm not useless, Derek. I'm the woman who saved your career. I'm the woman who kept your secrets. And I'm the woman who will now take away everything you thought you could steal. He crumpled the paper and threw it on the floor. You can't do this. You can't just give away property without my consent. I can do whatever I want with my house, Derek. And I'm also going to do something else. Something I've been planning for a very long time. I stood up, slowly, feeling the ache in my knees, the tiredness in my bones. But I stood up straight. Shoulders back, chin up, just like Carl taught me that. I've accepted a job, I said. A consulting position. For a very large company. I'll be writing about orchids. And I'll be paid more for that newsletter than you make in a month at your practice. Derek laughed, but it was a hollow laugh, a scared laugh. That's ridiculous. You don't have any qualifications. I have 67 years of experience. I have a lifetime of resilience. And I have the evidence of everything you've ever done to me and my family. That is my qualification. Emily stood up too. She walked around the table and stood beside me. For the first time in a decade, she looked like the daughter I raised. Strong. Determined. Furious. Mom, she said, her voice steady. I want a divorce. The clock kept ticking. The refrigerator kept humming. And my son-in-law, the man who had called me useless, just stood there. His expensive suit looking suddenly ridiculous in the light of the chandelier. He didn't even say anything. He just turned around and walked out of the dining room, out of the front door, into the darkness of the night. Emily collapsed into my arms. Lily ran to us, wrapping both of us in a hug so tight I could barely breathe. We stood there, 3 women, in the ruins of what was supposed to be a family dinner, holding each other. Did he just leave? Lily whispered. Yes, sweetheart. He left. Will he come back? I looked at the front door, still slightly ajar, letting in the cold night air. I looked at the chipped plate on the table, the blue forget-me-nots. I looked at my daughter's tear-streaked face and my granddaughter's trembling hands. I don't know, I said. But I'm ready for him. I'm ready for anything. Because that was the thing about being called useless. It made you realize that you had nothing left to lose. And a woman with nothing to lose is the most dangerous woman in the world. That I looked at the manila folder on the table. It was half empty. There were more papers. More records. More secrets. More weapons. You think I'm done? I whispered to the empty room. I haven't even started. Speech balloon. What would you do if someone you trusted called you useless? Tell me in the comments. I'm listening. The front door clicked shut. And I felt the silence rush in like water filling a room. Emily's sobs were quiet now, buried in my shoulder. Lily's arms were still wrapped around my waist, her fingers gripping the fabric of my dress like I might disappear if she let go. The lamb was cold on the table, the potatoes congealed in their gravy, the chipped plate still holding the crumpled napkin Derek had thrown. I stood there for a long moment, just breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Carl used to say that when you didn't know what to do next, you started with your breath. Everything else followed. Mom, Emily whispered, her voice muffled against my chest. He's really gone. Not gone, I said, stroking her hair the way I used to when she was small and scraped her knees. Retreating. There's a difference. Men like Derek don't vanish. They regroup. Lily pulled back and looked up at me, her eyes red and swollen. What does regroup mean? It means he'll come back with lawyers or with tears or with accusations. He'll try to make himself the victim. He'll try to make us look like the villains. But he called you useless. Everyone heard him. Even the neighbors probably heard him. Mrs. Patterson from across the street was walking her dog, and she definitely stopped to listen. I almost laughed. Almost. Mrs. Patterson has heard everything that's happened in this neighborhood since 1972. She's not the problem. The problem is that Derek has a very expensive lawyer and a very convincing smile. He'll claim I'm senile. He'll claim I'm manipulating you, Emily. He'll try to get the deed to the house overturned. Emily pulled away from me, wiping her face with the back of her hand. Can he do that? Can he take the house from Lily? The law is complicated, sweetheart. But I have records. Years of records. Notes I wrote down, receipts I kept, emails I printed. I've been preparing for this for a decade. Emily's eyes widened. A decade, Mom? You've been planning to leave Derek for 10 years. No. I shook my head. I've been planning to protect you for 10 years. There's a difference. I didn't know when or how it would happen. I just knew that if it did, I needed to be ready. Lily pulled up a chair and sat down heavily, like all the energy had drained out of her at once. She looked small in that big chair, her pink ribbon drooping. You always said Dad was difficult, but you never said he was this. Because I didn't want you to see him that way, I said, sitting down across from her. I wanted you to have a father, even a flawed one. I thought if I shielded you from the worst of it, you might still have something good to hold on to. But I think maybe I was wrong. Maybe protecting you meant I let you believe something that wasn't true. Emily walked to the kitchen and came back with 3 glasses of water. She set them on the table and sat down beside Lily. Tell me everything, she said. No more secrets. No more protecting me. I need to know. I looked at my daughter. She had my eyes, my chin, my stubbornness. She also had Carl's gentleness, his quiet patience. She was a good woman. A kind woman. And that kindness had made her a target. 10 years ago, I began. Derek was in his 2nd year of practice. He had a patient named Gregory Wellman. Mr. Wellman came in for a routine filling, but Derek did a root canal. An unnecessary root canal. Mr. Wellman's tooth wasn't infected. It didn't need that procedure. How do you know? Lily asked. Because Derek told me. He came to me, panicked, the night before the board hearing. He said the patient was threatening to sue. He said if the board found out, he'd lose his license. He said he had no money to settle. Emily pressed her fingers to her temples. So you gave him your retirement savings. I gave him $50,000. I told him to pay off Mr. Wellman. To make the whole thing disappear. I didn't expect him to be grateful. I expected him to be better. To be worthy of you. Lily's voice was barely a whisper. He wasn't. No, I said. He wasn't. He took the money and he never once thanked me. He never mentioned it again. He acted like it never happened. Emily was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked up at me. Mom, why didn't you tell me I was your daughter? You should have told me. Because you were in love, Emily. And love makes you blind. I know. I was blind too when I married Carl. But Carl was a good man. Derek is not. And if I had told you, you would have had to choose. Between your mother and your husband. I couldn't put you in that position. You put yourself in that position instead. You sacrificed everything for me. Again. I reached across the table and took her hand. That's what mothers do, sweetheart. We sacrifice. But that doesn't mean we're weak. It means we're choosing. And tonight I chose. I chose us. Lily sniffed and wiped her nose on her sleeve. What do we do now? I mean, Dad is gone, but he's not really gone, is he? He's going to fight. Yes, I said. He's going to fight. But we're going to fight harder. And I already have a plan. Emily sat up straighter. What kind of plan? Do you remember Mr. Nakamura from the florist shop? Emily frowned. The old man who used to buy orchids for his wife every Thursday. He's not old. He's 64. And he's not just a customer. He owns an international company. He breeds orchid hybrids for botanical gardens and private collectors. Last month he called me. He offered me a consulting position. Writing a newsletter about orchid care. Mom, that's amazing. But what does that have to do with Derek? Everything. I let go of her hand and stood up. Derek's biggest weapon is the narrative. He wants people to see me as a helpless old woman. A burden, a charity case. But what if I became something else? What if I became visible? What if I became successful? Lily's eyes lit up. You'd be showing everyone that he was wrong about you. Exactly. I'd be making myself a public figure. Someone with a career, a following, a reputation. If I'm successful and visible, it's much harder to declare me incompetent. Much harder to take away what I've built. Emily looked at me with something like wonder. You've been planning this for a while, haven't you? I've been planning this since the day Derek told me I was a burden. I just didn't know when to execute. But tonight he gave me the perfect opening. He humiliated me in public. He revealed himself. And now the world is watching. Lily got up from her chair and came to me. She wrapped her arms around me and pressed her cheek against my shoulder. Grandma, you're not useless. You're a superwoman. I laughed. It was a real laugh, warm and unexpected. I'm not a superwoman, Lily. I'm just a woman who got tired of being told what she couldn't do. We stood in the dining room, the three of us holding on to each other. The chipped plate was still on the table. The cold lamb was still there, untouched. But I didn't feel sad about the ruined dinner. I felt like something had ended. And something new was beginning. Emily pulled back and looked at me with a serious expression. Mom, I need to ask you something. And I need you to be honest with me. Of course, sweetheart. Did you ever love Derek even a little bit? I thought about it. I really did. I thought about the first time Emily brought him home. A tall, handsome dental student with a charming smile and a confident handshake. I had been suspicious from the beginning. He was too polished. Too practiced. He said all the right things, but his eyes never matched his words. I loved the idea of him, I said finally. I loved that he made you happy. I loved that he seemed like a good father to Lily. But I never trusted him. Not really. And I think, deep down, you didn't either. Emily looked down at her hands. I think I was afraid to admit it. I was afraid I'd made a mistake. I didn't want to fail. You didn't fail, Emily. You were brave. You loved someone, and you tried to make it work. That's not failure. That's hope. And hope is never wrong, even when the person you're hoping for is wrong. Lily pulled a chair and sat down, looking at the mess of papers and plates and discarded napkins. What about the job, the orchid thing? When do you start? I already started. I've been writing for 3 weeks. It's a small audience right now, but it's growing. By the end of the year, Mr. Nakamura predicts we'll have 100,000 subscribers. 100,000, Emily's eyes widened. Mom, that's not a newsletter. That's a movement. I shrugged modestly. It's just gardening advice. People like orchids. They remind people of hope. They remind people of you, Lily said. Because you're like an orchid. You grow in cracks. You bloom in shadows. You don't need much to survive. But you're beautiful and strong and everyone underestimates you. I didn't know how to respond to that. So I just hugged her again. We should clean up, Emily said, looking at the table. We shouldn't leave this mess for tomorrow. I shook my head. Leave it. Let it stay. Let it be a reminder. Of what? Of the night everything changed. Emily and Lily looked at each other, and then they both nodded. We left the table as it was. The cold lamb, the congealed gravy, the chipped plate, the crumpled napkin. We went into the living room and sat on the sofa, the 3 of us, huddled together like we had when Emily was little, and we watched old movies on Friday nights. Mom, Emily said after a long silence, are you scared? I thought about it. I thought about my knees that ached in the cold. I thought about my retirement savings, hollowed out for a man who didn't appreciate it. I thought about the long, lonely road ahead, the legal battles, the accusations, the gossip. Yes, I said. I'm scared. But I'm more tired of being scared. And that's what makes the difference. Lily rested her head on my shoulder. Grandma, you promised you would teach me how to make pie tomorrow. I did. And I will. We'll make apple pie. The kind with the crumb topping. Even though Dad is gone. Especially because he's gone, I said. We're going to make new traditions. New memories. A new life. I looked out the window. The street was dark, the streetlights casting long shadows across the pavement. I thought about Derek, where he might be going, what he might be planning. He was a man who never admitted defeat. He would be back. He would have a strategy. He would try to take everything, but he didn't know what I knew. He didn't know how long I had been preparing. He didn't know the paper trail, the silent accumulation of evidence, the slow, careful building of an exit strategy. I had spent 12 years as Carl's wife, loving him through sickness and health. I had spent 10 years as a widow, raising Emily alone, working double shifts at the florist shop. I had spent 14 years as Lily's grandmother, baking pies and healing scraped knees and applauding at school plays. I was not a woman who gave up. I was a woman who waited. And now, my waiting was over. Girls, I said, I have one more thing to tell you. They both looked up at me. Mr. Nakamura isn't just offering me a job. He's partnering with me. I'm not an employee. I'm a co-owner of the newsletter. I have equity, shares, real ownership. Emily's jaw dropped. Mom, that's incredible. Wait, there's more. I've also been invited to give a lecture at the Botanical Park. It's going to be live-streamed. Tens of thousands of people will see it. And I'm going to tell the story of the woman who was called useless and decided to prove them wrong. Lily gasped. Grandma, you're going to be famous. I don't want to be famous. I want to be believed. I want people to understand that words matter, that what you call someone can become what they are. I was called useless, and for years, I almost believed it. But I'm not useless. I've never been useless. And I want every woman my age, every woman who's been told she doesn't matter, to hear that and believe it. Emily reached for my hand. Mom, you're not just my hero. You're going to be a hero to a lot of people. I smiled. I don't need to be a hero. I just need to be me. But as I sat there, holding my daughter's hand and feeling my granddaughter's head on my shoulder, I knew that wasn't entirely true. I wanted something more than just being me. I wanted to leave a mark. I wanted to build something that would outlast me, something Derek couldn't destroy, something that would prove, once and for all, that a woman's worth cannot be determined by the man standing next to her, or the man sitting across from her, sneering at her cooking. I'm going to bed, I said, standing up. It's been a long night. Mom, do you want me to stay over? Emily asked. I can sleep on the couch. No, sweetheart. You go home. Take Lily. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we start again. Tomorrow we begin. Lily hugged me one last time. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know. They left. I stood in the doorway and watched them walk down the driveway, get into Emily's car, and drive away. I waved until the car disappeared around the corner. Then I went back into the dining room and looked at the table. The cold lamb, the congealed gravy, the chipped plate. I picked up the crumpled napkin and smoothed it out. On it, in Derek's handwriting, was a note he had probably meant for Emily. It said, "Take care of your mother. She's losing it." I laughed. It was a hollow laugh, but it was real. I'm not losing it, Derek. I'm finding it. I put the napkin in my pocket and went to bed. And I dreamed of orchids. Belle, you think that was the end? Not even close. The next chapter is going to change everything. Subscribe now so you don't miss what happens when Margaret takes the stage. The phone rang at 7:03 the next morning. I knew it was him before I even looked at the screen. Derek's name glowed like a warning light. I let it ring. Once. Twice. 3 times. On the 4th ring, I picked up. Margaret. His voice was smooth, controlled. The voice he used with patience. He was about to charge an extra $1,000. We need to talk. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat down at the kitchen table. The morning light was pale and thin, filtering through the curtains Carl had hung 30 years ago. I don't think we have anything to talk about, Derek. I think we have everything to talk about. You humiliated me in front of my wife and daughter. You made false accusations. False. I took a sip of coffee. It was hot and bitter, just the way I liked it. I have bank statements, Derek. I have the patient's signed release. I have your emails, the ones where you begged me for help. Do you want me to read them aloud? I saved them. All of them. Silence on his end. I could hear him breathing, shallow and quick. He was pacing. I knew because he always paced when he was cornered. He paced when he was lying to Emily about where he'd been on a Friday night. He paced when he was hiding the credit card bills. Those were private communications, he finally said. You had no right to keep them. I had every right to keep them. They're evidence, Derek. Evidence of what you really are. I'm a man who made a mistake, Margaret. A single mistake, 10 years ago. And I've paid for it. Every day. Do you have any idea what it's like to owe your mother-in-law $50,000 to know that she has that over you? It's been a torture. I set down my coffee cup. Torture. You've been driving a new car every 3 years. You've been taking vacations to Mexico. You bought Emily a diamond necklace for her birthday that costs more than my car. And I haven't said a word. Not one word, Derek. Because I believed in you. I believed you would change. I believed you deserved my silence. Silence again. Then his voice quieter now. What do you want, Margaret? Money. I can pay you back. I can. Pay me back, I laughed. Derek, I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you. I want you to leave my family alone. Your family. Emily is my wife. Not for much longer. She told you last night. She wants a divorce. She doesn't mean it. She was upset. She was emotional. You manipulated her. I didn't manipulate anyone. I told her the truth. Something you've never been able to do. He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. It was colder, harder. I have a lawyer, Margaret. A very good one. He's already drafting paperwork to contest the trust. He's going to argue that you're not competent, that you were coerced, that you signed the deed under duress. I felt a chill run down my spine, but I didn't let it show. On what grounds? On the grounds that you're a 67-year-old widow with no family support. On the grounds that you've been diagnosed with. I haven't been diagnosed with anything, Derek. I've never been to a neurologist. I've never had a cognitive assessment. You have nothing. I have a witness who will say you've been forgetful, confused, paranoid. I gripped the phone tighter. A witness? My mother. She's been staying with us for the past month. She heard you call me last Tuesday. She heard you say strange things. She'll testify. I closed my eyes. Derek's mother, Barbara, was a tall woman with a sharp tongue and a permanent scowl. She had never liked me. She thought I was too common, too floral, too low class for her son. She had once told Emily that I had let myself go after Carl died. And she had a very selective memory. Your mother, I said slowly, is a liar. Maybe. But she's a very convincing liar. And the court will believe her. Because she's a respected member of the community. She volunteers at the hospital auxiliary. She sits on the board of the historical society. And you're just a retired florist who lives in a house that's falling apart. I looked around my kitchen. The peeling wallpaper. The worn linoleum floor. The chipped countertops. It was true. The house was old. It was tired. But it was mine. I have a job, Derek. I have an income. I have a reputation. I'm not the confused old woman you're trying to paint me as. Writing a newsletter about orchids is not a job, Margaret. It's a hobby. A pathetic, late-life hobby. You're not a professional. You're a nobody. I felt the sting of his words. But I also felt something else. A strange, quiet calm. You're right, Derek. I'm not a professional. I'm not a doctor, a lawyer, or a businessman. But I'm someone who kept your secrets. Someone who saved your career. Someone who raised your child. And if you try to take away my house, my granddaughter's house, I will make sure the whole world knows exactly who you are. I heard him gasp. A small, surprised sound. Like he hadn't expected me to fight back. You can't do that, he said. You can't destroy me. I'm not going to destroy you. I'm going to expose you. There's a difference. Destroying you would take effort. Exposing you just takes the truth. I hung up the phone. My hand was shaking just a little. I set the phone down and stared at it. He was going to fight dirty. I knew that. I had known it since the moment he left the dinner table. But hearing it, hearing the details, hearing the cold calculation in his voice, made it real in a way that the speculation hadn't. That I needed to act fast. That I called Mr. Nakamura. He answered on the second ring. Margaret, good morning. How are you? I'm good, Mr. Nakamura. I'm very good. But I need to ask you a favor. Anything. I need to move up the lecture. The one at the botanical park. Can we do it next week instead of next month? There was a pause. That's very soon. The venue is booked. The promotional material is printed. I know. And I'm sorry. But I need to do this now. My family is under attack. I need to be visible. I need to be public. I need to show the world that I'm not confused, I'm not paranoid, I'm not senile. He was silent for a moment. Then he said, I'll make some calls. I'll see what I can do. Thank you. I'll send you my speech outline by the end of the day. I hung up and went to my computer. I had been working on the speech for weeks, but now I needed to rewrite it. I needed it to be sharper, more direct, more personal. That I spent the next 4 hours writing. I wrote about orchids, about resilience, about the hidden strength of overlooked things. But I also wrote about myself. About the dinner table. About the $50,000. About the chipped plate and the crumpled napkin. I wrote about what it felt like to be called useless. And I wrote about what it felt like to realize that the person calling you, that was the one who was truly useless. At noon, Emily called. Mom, I just got a call from Derek's lawyer. He's filing for a restraining order. What? Against me? He's saying I'm unstable. That I'm a danger to myself and Lily. He's asking for sole custody. I felt the air leave my lungs. That's insane. You're the most stable person I know. You've never. I know, Mom. He's trying to scare me. He's trying to make me back down. Are you going to? No. I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight for Lily, for myself, for everything. I'm done being afraid. I felt a surge of pride so strong it almost brought me to tears. That's my girl. The hearing is next Friday. Same day as your lecture. I have to testify. I can't be there to support you. Emily, don't you worry about me. I'll be fine. You take care of Lily. You take care of yourself. I'll handle the rest. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Mom, I love you. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know. I hung up and went back to my computer. I had a lot to do. I had to finish the speech, coordinate with Priya, finalize my outfit, and somehow find time to sleep. But I wasn't tired. I was wired. Alive. I felt like I was running towards something, not away from it. That afternoon I went to the botanical park to see the venue. Priya met me at the entrance, her tablet in hand, her expression brisk and professional. Margaret, I got your email. We're scrambling, but we can make it work. The date is set for next Saturday. We'll move the lecture to the morning and shift the other events to the afternoon. Thank you, Priya. I know this is short notice. It's fine. The buzz around your story is incredible. People are hungry for it. The online registration opened an hour ago, and we already have 2,000 signups. And we haven't even sent the press release yet. 2,000. I blinked. 2,000, minimum. We're projecting at least 5,000 by the day of the event. Possibly more. The live stream will probably hit 100,000 viewers. I leaned against the glass wall of the pavilion. 100,000 people would see my speech. 100,000 people would hear my story. And Derek would be one of them. I knew he would watch. He wouldn't be able to help himself. He would tune in to see me fail. To see me stumble. To see me prove him right. But I wasn't going to stumble. I was going to soar. Margaret, Priya touched my arm. Are you okay? I nodded. I'm perfect. I'm better than perfect. I'm ready. I walked into the pavilion and stood on the stage. It was empty except for a single microphone stand and a small table. I imagined the seats filled with faces. Faces that had come to see an old woman tell her story. I won't let you down. I whispered to the empty room. I won't let any of you down. I left the park and went home. The house was quiet. Lily was at school. Emily was at her lawyer's office. I was alone with my thoughts and the ticking of Carl's clock. That I walked to the garage. The blue safe was still in the corner, dusty and silent. I opened it and looked at the folder. The evidence. The truth. The thing that would save us. I took out a single piece of paper. A photo of Derek, young and arrogant, shaking hands with a patient. The patient was Mr. Wellman. The one with the unnecessary root canal. I had kept this photo for 10 years. I had hidden it in a shoebox under my bed, and then I had moved it to the safe. It was my insurance. My last resort. And now I was going to use it. Not for revenge. Not for destruction. For protection. I put the photo in my pocket and went back inside. The next few days passed in a blur.
I wrote, I revised, I practiced.
I talked to Priya about lighting and camera angles. I talked to Mr. Nakamura about the newsletter and the future. I called Emily every night. She sounded tired but determined. Lily was staying with a friend. The hearing was approaching. Derek was fighting with everything he had. And so was I. On the morning of the lecture, I woke up at 4 a.m. I made coffee. I sat in the garden and watched the sun rise. The roses were blooming, red and pink and white. The petunias were hanging in their baskets, untouched by the frost. I thought about Carl. I thought about the night he proposed in this very garden, on his knees in the dirt. He had said, "Margaret, I'm not a rich man. I'm not a clever man. But I will never make you feel small. And I will always be by your side." He had kept that promise. Every single day. And now he was gone. But I was still here. And I was going to keep my own promise. I was going to fight for my family. I was going to protect my granddaughter's future. I was going to show the world that a woman's worth is not determined by the words of a man. I got dressed. I put on my best dress, the blue one Carl had bought me for our 20th anniversary. I pinned a small white orchid to the collar. I looked in the mirror. "You are not useless," I said to my reflection. "You never were." Then I walked out the door. And I didn't look back. A speech balloon. This is the moment we've been building toward. Drop an emoji in the comments if you're ready to see Margaret take the stage. The car ride to the botanical park was the longest 20 minutes of my life. Lily sat beside me in the passenger seat. Her pink ribbon freshly tied, her hands clasped tight around her phone. She had insisted on coming. Emily was at the courthouse, fighting for custody, but Lily had refused to stay with a friend. She wanted to be here. She wanted to see me speak. "You're going to do great, Grandma," she said, but her voice wavered. I reached over and squeezed her hand. "I know, sweetheart. I've been practicing for weeks. It's not the speech I'm worried about. It's him." I didn't ask who she meant. I knew. Derek had been suspiciously quiet since the phone call. No more lawyers' letters. No more threatening texts. It was the silence that worried me most. Derek was a man who collected grievances like stamps. He stored them up and deployed them at the worst possible moment. "I'll handle him," I said. "The same way I've been handling him for 10 years. One step at a time." The botanical park was already buzzing when we arrived. Priya met us at the entrance, her tablet glowing with notifications. "Margaret, the crowd is bigger than we expected. We've got over 1,000 people in the pavilion and another 3,000 waiting in the overflow tent. The live stream is already at 50,000 views." I felt my knees wobble. 50,000. 1,000 in person. This was not a lecture. This was a spectacle. "Are you ready?" Priya asked. "I'm ready." I walked through the crowd holding Lily's hand. People turned to look at me. Some smiled. Some waved. Some whispered to each other. I felt like a bride walking down an aisle, but instead of flowers I carried a folder. The folder. The one with all the proof. The backstage area was a small room behind the pavilion, filled with mirrors and racks of plants. I stood in front of a mirror and adjusted my orchid pin. It was crooked. I fixed it. "Grandma," Lily said, "you look beautiful." I turned to her. "Thank you, sweetheart. But beauty isn't what I need today. I need strength." She hugged me. It was a quick, fierce hug. "You have that. You've always had that." Then she pulled away and went to her seat in the front row. I watched her walk down the aisle, so young and so brave. And I felt a surge of love so powerful it nearly knocked me over. I heard the applause as I stepped onto the stage. The lights were bright, blinding. I couldn't see the faces in the audience, only a sea of silhouettes. But I could hear them. Hundreds of hands clapping. I walked to the podium and adjusted the microphone. My hands were shaking. I pressed them flat against the wood. "Good morning," I said. "My name is Margaret. And I'm here to tell you a story about orchids and resilience." The applause faded. The room went quiet. "The orchid," I began, "is a flower of contradictions. It's delicate, but it's also tough. It needs very little water. It can grow on rocks, on trees, in the cracks of concrete. It doesn't ask for much, but it gives everything. I paused and took a breath. I was starting to feel it. The rhythm. The flow. The words were coming easily. Some people look at an orchid and see weakness. They see something fragile, something that needs constant care. But that's a misunderstanding. An orchid doesn't need constant care. An orchid needs respect. It needs space. It needs to be left alone to grow in its own way. I saw a woman in the front row nod. She was older than me, with silver hair and glasses. She understood that 10 years ago my son-in-law made a mistake. A serious mistake. He performed a medical procedure that wasn't necessary. A root canal on a healthy tooth. He was sued. The board investigated. And he came to me, begging for help. I pulled the bank statement out of my folder and held it up. I gave him $50,000. My retirement savings. The money my late husband left me. I gave it to him because I believed in him. Because I loved my daughter. Because I wanted my family to be whole. The audience was silent. I could hear the hum of the air conditioning, the distant chirp of birds, but I made a mistake too. I believed in someone who didn't believe in me. I gave to someone who didn't appreciate it. And for 10 years, I said nothing. I kept his secret. I protected him. Because I thought that's what mothers do. We protect. We sacrifice. We stay quiet. I heard a sniffle from the front row. It was Lily. She was crying, but she was smiling too. Last week, my son-in-law sat at my dining table in my house eating my food, and he called me useless. He said I was a burden. He said I was a charity case. He said I should move into assisted living and let him and my daughter have their lives back. The crowd shifted. I heard murmurs of outrage. I looked at that man and I realized something. He wasn't trying to hurt me. He was trying to bury me. He was trying to make me disappear. Because if I disappeared, he could take everything. My house. My inheritance. My granddaughter's future. I pulled out another document. The deed. The one I had signed 3 months ago. I transferred this house to my granddaughter. She's 14. She can't sell it until she's 25. My son-in-law can't touch it. Not now, not ever. The audience erupted. Clapping. Whistling. Cheering. I waited for it to die down. I'm not here to ask for your pity. I continued. I'm not here to play the victim. I'm here to tell you that I am not useless. I am not a burden. I am a woman who has survived loss, betrayal, and poverty. And I'm still standing. I took a breath and looked at the camera. The one that was streaming my words to 100,000 people. I have a job now. A real job. I write a newsletter about orchids. It's a small thing, but it's growing. And it's mine. My son-in-law said it was a pathetic late-life hobby. But you know what? Pathetic hobbies pay the bills. Pathetic hobbies build futures. And pathetic hobbies have a way of becoming empires. The crowd laughed. I felt the tension in my shoulders ease. I also have a message for my son-in-law. He's watching this. I know he is. He's sitting somewhere, probably on his expensive sofa, sipping his expensive coffee, expecting to see me fail. I leaned forward, my hands gripping the edges of the podium. Guess what, Derek? I'm not failing. I'm thriving. I'm speaking to thousands of people. I'm building a career. I'm protecting my family. And I'm not done yet. I pulled out the photograph. The one of Derek and Mr. Wellman. I held it up to the camera. This is a picture of you with the patient you almost ruined. The patient you defrauded. The patient whose money you took and whose trust you betrayed. And this picture, along with every piece of evidence I have, is going to be distributed to every media outlet in this state unless you do one thing. I paused. The audience leaned forward. Unless you sign the divorce papers. Unless you give Emily full custody of Lily. Unless you walk away, quietly, and never contact us again. The room went completely silent. I could hear my own heartbeat. Derek, I know you're watching. And I know you're calculating. You're wondering if I'm bluffing. You're wondering if I'll really do it. You're wondering what your mother will say when she finds out. I smiled. It was not a kind smile. I'm not bluffing. I've been keeping your secrets for 10 years. And I'm done. So here's my offer. You walk away. You sign everything. You disappear. And I keep your secrets. Or you fight me, and I put every single piece of evidence on the front page of every newspaper in the country. I lowered the photograph and looked directly into the camera. Choose wisely, because I have nothing left to lose. And that makes me more dangerous than you can ever imagine. I turned to the audience. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And remember, you are not useless. You are never useless. You are orchids in a concrete world. And you will bloom. The audience stood. They clapped. They cheered. Some were crying. Some were hugging each other. I walked off the stage, my legs shaking, my heart pounding. Lily ran up to me and threw her arms around my waist. Grandma, that was amazing. That was incredible. You were so brave. I hugged her back. I wasn't brave, sweetheart. I was desperate. There's a difference. Not to me. To me, you're a hero. I looked over her shoulder and saw Priya, grinning like a woman who had just won the lottery. Margaret, that speech is already viral. 300,000 views. The comments are flooding in. People are calling you a legend. I shook my head. I'm not a legend. I'm just a woman who got tired of being underestimated. Then my phone buzzed. I pulled it out of my pocket. It was a text from an unknown number. Margaret, this is Derek. I saw the speech. I'll sign the papers. Just please don't release the evidence. Please. I stared at the screen. I had one. I had actually one dot, but I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired. Exhausted. Like I had been carrying a boulder up a mountain for a decade, and I had finally reached the top. I typed a response. Fine. But if you ever come near my family again, I will destroy you. And I won't think twice. Then I turned off my phone and looked at Lily. Let's go home. Home. I need to sit in my garden. I need to breathe. And I need to start planning the next chapter of our lives. We walked out of the pavilion, into the bright afternoon sun. The crowd parted to let us through. Some people touched my shoulder. Some whispered, thank you. I smiled and nodded and kept walking, because I had done it. I had won. And I had done it on my terms. A bell if this moment made your heart race. Share the story with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe to follow Margaret's next chapter. The garden was quiet when I got home. The roses were still blooming, red and pink and white, their petals soft in the late afternoon light. I sat on the old wooden bench Carl had built, the one with the chipped paint and the wobbly leg, and I just breathed. Lily had gone inside to make tea. She insisted. You sit, Grandma. You rest. I'll take care of everything. I watched her through the kitchen window, moving with a confidence that reminded me of Emily at her age. She filled the kettle, pulled down the mugs, found the honey. She was growing up. She was becoming someone strong. My phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look, but I did. Emily. He signed. Everything. Full custody. The house. The divorce. He signed it all. I read the message 3 times. Then I read it again. It felt unreal, like a dream I was afraid to wake from. I called her. She answered on the first ring, her voice thick with tears. Mom, it's over. It's finally over. Are you okay? Are you and Lily okay? We're better than okay. We're free. I can't believe it. I can't believe he actually did it. I leaned back against the bench and looked up at the sky. It was a pale blue, streaked with white clouds. He didn't have a choice. I made sure of that. I know. I saw the speech. I watched it on my phone in the courthouse hallway. Mom, you were incredible. Everyone was talking about it. Even the judge mentioned it. The judge, she said. Your mother is a remarkable woman. She actually said that. She said she'd never seen anything like it. I felt a warmth spread through my chest. It wasn't pride exactly. It was something quieter. Something like peace. Come home, I said. Bring Lily. We'll have dinner. Real dinner. Not that cold lamb mess. Emily laughed. It was a real laugh, full and loud, the kind she used to have when she was a girl. I'll be there in an hour. I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetheart. I hung up and sat in the garden listening to the birds. The roses rustled in the breeze. The petunias swayed in their baskets. Everything felt calm. Still. Safed up, but even as I sat there, I felt a small tug of unease. Derek had signed. That was good. That was more than good. But Derek was not a man who surrendered gracefully. He was a man who retreated, regrouped, and returned. I pushed the thought away. Tonight, I would celebrate. Tonight, I would be grateful. Tomorrow, I would worry. Lily came out with 2 mugs of tea. She handed one to me and sat down on the grass at my feet. Grandma, do you think Dad will ever try to see me again? I took a sip of tea. It was perfect, just the right amount of honey. I don't know, sweetheart. But I do know that if he does, you'll be ready. And so will I. She nodded, her eyes fixed on the roses. I don't hate him. I just don't trust him anymore. That's a wise thing to say. Trust is earned, not given. And once it's broken, it takes a long time to rebuild. Did you ever trust him even a little bit? I thought about it. I thought about the early days, when Derek brought Emily flowers and opened doors for her. I thought about the way he held Lily when she was born, so carefully, like she was made of glass. I wanted to believe he was good. I wanted to believe he could change. I trusted the idea of him. I said. The idea of a man who would love my daughter and my granddaughter the way they deserved. But I never trusted the man himself. Not really. Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I'm glad you didn't. Because if you had, you wouldn't have kept all that evidence. And we wouldn't be free right now. I reached down and touched her hair. You're a smart girl, Lily. Smarter than I was at your age. I learned from you. We sat in silence for a while, watching the sun sink lower in the sky. The shadows grew longer. The air grew cooler. Then Emily arrived. She pulled into the driveway in her little blue car. And she was smiling. A real smile, not the tight, pinched expression she'd worn for years. She ran up the path and hugged me hard. Mom, I can't believe it. I can't believe we actually did it. We did it together, I said. All of us. She pulled back and looked at me. You look different. What happened to you? I laughed. I don't look different. I'm still the same old Margaret. No, you're not. You're standing taller. You're looking me in the eye. You're not apologizing for existing anymore. I realized she was right. Something had shifted. Not just in my circumstances, but in me. I felt lighter. Freer. Like I had been carrying a weight I didn't even know I was holding. I think, I said slowly, I finally stopped believing what he said about me. Emily nodded. That's exactly it. You stopped believing him. Lily came over and joined our hug. This is the best day ever, she said. We should do something to celebrate. How about dinner? Emily suggested. Real dinner. The 3 of us. I'll make lasagna, I said. And garlic bread. And maybe that chocolate cake Lily loves. Lily cheered. Yes. Grandma's chocolate cake is the best. We went inside and I started cooking. It felt different than the dinner with Derek. There was no tension, no dread. Just the 3 of us, moving around the kitchen, laughing and talking. Lily set the table. Emily opened a bottle of wine. I stirred the sauce and thought about Carl, about how much he would have loved this moment. Mom, Emily said. What are you going to do now with the newsletter and the speaking and everything? I shrugged. Keep going, I suppose. The newsletter is growing faster than I expected. Mr. Nakamura says we might hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the month. 100,000, Mom. That's incredible. It's just a number. What matters is that it's mine. I built it. I earned it. Emily raised her glass. To Mom. The most useful person I know. I laughed and clinked my glass against hers. To us. The Collins women. Lily raised her glass of apple juice. To no more useless men. We all laughed at that. It was a good laugh, warm and easy. Dinner was perfect. The lasagna was cheesy and rich. The garlic bread was golden and crisp. The chocolate cake was moist and dark, the way Lily liked it. That after dinner, we sat in the living room, full and happy. Lily fell asleep on the sofa, her head on Emily's lap. Emily stroked her hair and looked at me. Mom, I have to ask you something. And I need you to be honest with me. Of course, sweetheart. Are you afraid of what happens next of him coming back? I thought about it. I thought about the years of fear, the years of walking on eggshells, the years of keeping secrets. No, I said. I'm not afraid. I'm cautious. There's a difference. Fear makes you small. Cautious makes you prepared. What do you think he'll do? I think he'll try something. He's not the kind of man who accepts defeat quietly. He'll find a new angle, a new way to hurt us. But I also think he's smart enough to be careful. He saw what I did on that stage. He knows I'm not bluffing. Are you bluffing? I mean, I looked at her. No. I will release everything if I have to. I will burn his entire life to the ground if he threatens us again. But I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope he walks away and finds a new target. You're a good person, Mom. You could have destroyed him years ago. But you didn't. I wanted to believe in him. I wanted to believe in the possibility of change. Maybe that was naive. But I don't regret it. It made me who I am. Emily leaned over and kissed my cheek. I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know. We sat in the quiet for a while, the three of us. The clock ticked. The house settled. And for the first time in a decade, I felt truly at peace, but I knew it wouldn't last. Peace never does. There was always another storm on the horizon. Always another challenge, another fight. That was okay. I was ready. I looked at the photograph on the mantelpiece, the one of Carl and me on our wedding day. He was smiling, his arm around my waist, his eyes full of love. Did you see me today, Carl? I whispered. Did you see what I did? The photograph didn't answer. But I felt it anyway. A warm presence, a gentle touch on my shoulder. He had seen. He was proud. And so was I. I woke up the next morning to the sound of Lily making breakfast. She was in the kitchen, cracking eggs, humming a song I didn't recognize. I walked in and she smiled at me. Good morning, Grandma. I made pancakes. Pancakes, sweetheart, you didn't have to do that. I wanted to. You did so much for us yesterday. I wanted to do something for you. I sat down at the table, and she placed a plate of pancakes in front of me. They were a little burnt on the edges, but they were perfect. Thank you, Lily. This is beautiful. She sat down across from me, her eyes bright. Grandma, what's next? After all this, I thought about it. I don't know exactly, but I know I want to keep writing. I want to keep speaking. I want to build something that will last. Can I help? I smiled. You can always help. You're my partner in crime, remember? She grinned. Partner in crime. I like that. Emily came down the stairs, still in her pajamas. She looked tired but happy. Are those pancakes I smell? Lily made them, I said. Emily sat down and took a bite. These are delicious. Lily, you're a natural. Lily beamed. I learned from the best. We ate breakfast together, the three of us, laughing and talking. It was the first truly peaceful morning we'd had in years. After breakfast, I went to the garage. I opened the blue safe and looked at the folder. The evidence. The secrets. The weapons I had kept for so long. I took out the folder and held it in my hands. It felt heavy, weighted with years of pain and fear and silence. I knew I couldn't keep it forever. It had served its purpose. It had saved us. I took the folder to the fireplace. Emily and Lily watched me from the doorway. Are you sure, Mom? Emily asked. I'm sure. I don't need this anymore. I have something better now. What's that? Freedom. Peace. A future. I knelt down and opened the fireplace door. I placed the folder on the grate. I struck a match and watched the flame catch the edge of the paper. It burned slowly at first, then faster. The edges curled and blackened. The ink smeared and vanished. And with it, all the secrets. All the pain. All the fear. I watched until the last ember faded. Then I stood up and closed the fireplace door. Let's go inside, I said. I want to plant some new roses. Lily took my hand. Can I help? Of course, sweetheart. You can always help. And we walked out into the garden together. Abel, this chapter hit you right in the heart. Didn't it hit? Like and share if you believe in second chances. And don't forget to subscribe for Margaret's next victory. 3 months passed like water through my fingers. The newsletter grew faster than Mr. Nakamura had predicted. By the end of the second month, we had crossed 100,000 subscribers. By the end of the third, we were pushing 200,000. I wrote every day, sometimes twice a day, about orchids and resilience and the quiet strength of overlooked things. People wrote back. Hundreds of emails poured in every week. Women my age, mostly, but also young mothers, teenagers, even a few men. They told me their stories. Their divorces. Their betrayals. Their moments of being told they weren't enough. I answered every single one. It took hours, but I didn't mind. Each reply felt like planting a seed. A small act of hope. Mr. Nakamura called me one morning, his voice unusually animated. Margaret, I have news. A publishing house has contacted us. They want to turn your newsletter into a book. I nearly dropped my coffee cup. A book, a collection of essays. With photographs of the orchids. They're offering a very generous advance. I've reviewed the contract and it looks solid. But I wanted to ask you first. This is your project. Your vision. I sat down at the kitchen table. A book. I had never even imagined writing a book. I had barely imagined writing a newsletter. What do you think, Mr. Nakamura? I think you have a voice that people need to hear. I think this is the next step. But the decision is yours. I thought about it. I thought about the hours I had spent writing, the late nights and early mornings. I thought about the stories people had shared with me, the trust they had placed in my words. Yes, I said. Let's do it. Wonderful. I'll send you the contract details. And Margaret, congratulations. You've earned this. I hung up and stared at the phone. A book. I was going to write a book. Lily came into the kitchen, her hair still wet from the shower. Grandma, why are you smiling like that? I'm going to write a book, sweetheart. Her jaw dropped. A book, like a real book with pages and a cover and everything. With pages and a cover and everything. She threw her arms around me. That's amazing. You're going to be a real author. Like a famous author. I don't need to be famous. I just need to write something that matters. Emily walked in, coffee mug in hand. What's all the excitement? Mom's going to write a book, Lily said. Emily's eyes widened. A book, Mom, that's incredible. When did this happen? Just now. Mr. Nakamura called. A publishing house wants to publish my newsletter essays. Emily sat down across from me. You've come so far, Mom. From that dinner table to this. I'm so proud of you. I felt a warmth spread through my chest. I couldn't have done it without you too. You're my reason for everything. We spent the morning celebrating. Lily made pancakes again. Emily opened a bottle of sparkling cider. We sat in the garden, the three of us, and talked about the future. But even as we laughed and planned, I couldn't shake a small nagging feeling. Derek had been too quiet, too absent. 3 months without a word, without a lawyer's letter, without a single threatening text. It wasn't like him. I mentioned it to Emily later that afternoon. Have you heard from him at all? She shook her head. Not a peep. He signed the papers and he disappeared. I thought he might try to see Lily, but he hasn't even called her. Does that worry you? She was quiet for a moment. A little. He's not the kind of man who just gives up. He's the kind who waits, who plans, who finds a way to strike when you least expect it. Then we'll be ready. We'll always be ready. But I wasn't as sure as I sounded. Derek was cunning. He had resources. He had a mother who would lie for him. And he had a very long memory. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in my rocking chair, wrapped in Carl's old cardigan, and stared out the window at the moon. It was full and bright, casting silver light across the garden. I thought about the book. About the essays I would write. About the stories I would tell. But I also thought about Derek. About the look in his eyes when he had walked out of the dining room. It wasn't defeat. It was something else. Something colder. The next morning, I woke up to a series of notifications on my phone. My email was flooded. Hundreds of new messages. I scrolled through them, confused. Then I saw it. A post on social media shared thousands of times. A video. A video of me taken from the lecture but edited. Heavily edited. In the video I looked confused. Disjointed. I was stumbling over my words, repeating myself, losing my train of thought. The editing made me look senile. Incompetent. Like a woman who shouldn't be trusted with anything. My hands started shaking. I scrolled down. The caption read, "Is this really the woman you're trusting with your stories? She's clearly not well. Someone should step in before she hurts herself or others." It was anonymous. But I knew who had posted it. I knew with absolute certainty. I called Priya. She answered on the first ring. "Margaret, I've seen the video. It's a hatchet job. Pure manipulation. But it's going viral. People are sharing it without context. The comments are brutal. Can we take it down? We're trying. We've reported it. But social media is slow. By the time they remove it, the damage will be done. I felt tears prick my eyes. I blinked them back. I can't let him win. Not now. Not after everything. You won't. I have an idea. Can you come to the office this afternoon? I'll be there. I hung up and sat at the kitchen table. My hands were still shaking. I pressed them flat against the wood and forced myself to breathe. Lily came down the stairs. Grandma, what's wrong? You look upset. I didn't want to tell her. I didn't want to burden her with Derek's cruelty. But she was old enough. She deserved to know. Sit down, sweetheart. I need to tell you something. She sat across from me, her eyes wide. Is it Dad? Did he do something? I nodded. He posted a video. An edited video of my lecture. He made it look like I was confused. Like I wasn't in control of myself. Lily's face went pale. That's not true. Everyone who was there knows it's not true. I know. But people who weren't there, people who only see the video, they might believe it. And if they believe it, it could hurt the book. It could hurt everything I've built. Lily reached across the table and took my hand. Grandma, you're the strongest person I know. You beat him once. You can beat him again. I squeezed her hand. You're right. I can. But I need to figure out how. Emily came home early from work. She had seen the video too. She was furious. That snake. That miserable, lying snake. How dare he do this to you? He's trying to discredit me. He knows I won't release the evidence if he stays quiet. So he's trying to discredit me before I can make the first move. Are you going to release it, the evidence? I thought about it. The folder was gone. I had burned it. But I had copies. I always had copies. I wasn't stupid enough to keep only one. I have copies, I said. But if I release them now, it looks like retaliation. It looks like I'm trying to destroy him because he hurt me. I need to be smarter than that. Priya called me that afternoon. Margaret, I've got a plan. We're going to release your speech. The full, unedited version of the speech you gave at the lecture. We're going to post it on every platform we have. We're going to counter the video with the truth. Will it work? I don't know. But it's better than doing nothing. And I have another idea. We're going to reach out to the patient, Mr. Wellman. We're going to ask him to make a statement, to confirm the story. I was silent for a moment. He might not want to. He might not want to revisit that time. Let me try. I'm good at persuasion. I agreed. I didn't have a choice. That the next few days were a blur of activity. Priya coordinated the release of the unedited speech. I gave interviews to local news stations. I wrote a new essay, a personal one, about the importance of context and the danger of edited truths. And Mr. Wellman agreed to speak. He gave an interview to a local newspaper, confirming everything I had said. He told his story. His unnecessary root canal. His settlement. His decision to drop the case because he had been paid off. The truth came out. Slowly at first, then faster. People started sharing the unedited speech. They started sharing Mr. Wellman's interview. The comments on the edited video shifted. People began to defend me. But the damage was done. The book contract was delayed. The publisher wanted to wait, to see how the situation resolved. They were nervous. They didn't want to be associated with controversy. I understood. But it still hurt that Emily found me in the garden that evening, staring at the roses. Mom, are you okay? I'm fine. I'm just tired. It's exhausting, fighting all the time. I know. But you're winning. Look at the comments. People are on your side. I know. But I didn't want to have to fight. I just wanted to write. I just wanted to help people. She sat down beside me. I think you're doing more than helping people. I think you're showing them that they can fight back. That they don't have to be victims. I looked at her. I didn't raise you to be a fighter. I raised you to be kind. Kind and strong aren't opposites, Mom. They're the same thing. And you taught me both. I leaned my head on her shoulder. I love you, Emily. I love you too, Mom. We sat in the garden as the sun set, and I felt a small measure of peace return. Derek had tried to destroy me. He had failed, but I knew he wouldn't stop. He would try again. He was relentless. And so was I. The next morning, I received a letter. It was from Derek's lawyer, but it wasn't a threat. It was an invitation. Derek wanted to meet. In person. Alone. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it and put it in my pocket. I had a choice. I could refuse. I could continue the war from a distance. Or I could face him directly. Look him in the eye. End this once and for all. I knew what I had to do. I called Emily. I'm going to meet him. Mom. No. He'll try to manipulate you. He'll try to hurt you. He can try. But he won't succeed. I've faced worse than Derek Collins. And I'm still standing. She was silent for a long moment. Then she said, if you're going, I'm coming with you. No. He said alone. If I bring someone else, he'll walk away. I need to see this through.
Mom, I'm scared.
I smiled even though she couldn't see me. So am I, sweetheart. But being scared doesn't mean I won't do it. It just means I'll be careful. I agreed to the meeting. It was set for the following week. A public place. A cafe near the park. I had 1 week to prepare. 1 week to think about what I wanted to say. 1 week to figure out how to end this war. I spent that week writing. I wrote about forgiveness. About the power of letting go. About the importance of moving forward. I wrote about Derek. Not with anger. With sorrow. He was a man who had wasted his potential. A man who had chosen cruelty over kindness. That I didn't want to destroy him. I wanted to set him free. Free to make better choices. Free to become someone else. That I was still the woman who had kept his secrets. I was still the woman who had saved his career. I was still the woman who had hoped for better from him. And maybe, just maybe, there was still hope for him. Abel, drop a comment if you think Margaret is making the right choice meeting Derek alone. Your support means the world to her. And subscribe to see how this face-off ends. The cafe was called the Morning Glory, a small place tucked between a bookstore and a dry cleaner's. I had passed it 100 times but never gone inside. Today, it felt like the center of the universe. I arrived 10 minutes early. I ordered a cup of chamomile tea and sat at a table by the window. My hands were steady. My heart was not. The door opened at exactly 10 a.m. Derek walked in, wearing a suit I didn't recognize. He looked thinner than I remembered, his face more lined. The arrogance was still there, but it was muted now. Subdued. He saw me and walked over. He didn't sit. He stood there, looking down at me like he was trying to decide something. Margaret, he said. Derek. He pulled out the chair across from me and sat down. He folded his hands on the table. Thank you for coming. I almost didn't. But you did. Why? I took a sip of my tea. Because I'm tired of fighting. And I think you are too. He looked away out the window. The street was quiet. A dog walked by with its owner. A mother pushed a stroller. Normal life happening outside. I'm not here to apologize, he said. I didn't expect you to. Then why did you come? I set down my cup. Because I wanted to look you in the eye and tell you that I'm not afraid of you. I never was. I was patient. I was careful. But I was never afraid. His jaw tightened. You should be. I've been planning. I know. You've been planning for months. The video. The anonymous posts. The attempt to discredit me. It was clever. But it didn't work. It didn't work because you're lucky. People believed you because you're a victim. You played the victim card and it worked. I shook my head. I didn't play anything. I told the truth. That's the difference between you and me. You manipulate. I share. And people can tell the difference. He leaned forward. You destroyed my life. My practice is ruined. My reputation is gone. My wife left me. My daughter won't speak to me. And you sit there drinking your tea, acting like you're the victim. I didn't destroy your life. You destroyed it. You made choices. Bad choices. And now you're facing the consequences. He slammed his hand on the table. The teacups rattled. The woman at the next table looked over, startled. Consequences, he spat. You think this is consequences? This is a nightmare. I can't get a job. I can't show my face in public. My mother won't even return my calls. I watched him. The anger. The frustration. The fear beneath it all. He was a man who had built his entire identity on control, And he had lost it. I'm sorry, I said. He froze. What? I'm sorry. Not for what I did. For what I didn't do. I should have confronted you years ago. I should have told Emily the truth. I should have stopped pretending you were something you weren't. His face shifted. Confusion flickered in his eyes. What are you doing? Is this some kind of trick? No trick. Just the truth. I enabled you, Derek. I kept your secrets. I covered for you. I told myself it was for Emily's sake, for Lily's sake. But it wasn't. It was because I was afraid. Afraid of the fight. Afraid of the fallout. Afraid of being alone. He stared at me like I had started speaking a different language. I'm not angry at you anymore, I said. I'm sad for you. You had everything. A beautiful wife. A wonderful daughter. A thriving career. And you threw it all away, because you couldn't admit that you were wrong. His hands were shaking now. You don't know what it's like. The pressure. The expectations. Everyone always expecting me to be perfect. I know exactly what it's like. I was a single mother. I worked double shifts. I struggled to keep food on the table. And I never once lied to my daughter. I never once stole from her. He looked down at his hands. What do you want from me, Margaret? Do you want me to grovel, to beg? No. I want you to leave us alone. I want you to let go. Not for me. For Lily. She deserves a father, even if he's flawed. She deserves to remember you without bitterness. Lily won't speak to me. She won't even take my calls. She will. In time. But only if you stop fighting. Only if you stop trying to destroy her family. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, You're not going to release the evidence, the rest of it. I shook my head. I burned it. All of it. I kept copies, but I'll never use them. You're free, Derek. Free to rebuild. Free to start over. Just stay away from us. He sat back in his chair. His face was pale. He looked like a man who had just been given a reprieve he didn't deserve. Why are you doing this after everything I did to you? Because I want to be the kind of woman who lets go. The kind of woman who moves forward. The kind of woman who chooses peace over revenge. He laughed, a hollow sound. You're a better person than I'll ever be. I know. He stood up. He looked at me one last time, his eyes unreadable. Goodbye, Margaret. Goodbye, Derek. He walked out of the cafe. I watched him go through the window. He didn't look back. I finished my tea and paid the bill. Then I walked home. The garden was waiting for me. The roses were still blooming. The petunias were still hanging in their baskets. Everything was the same. But I felt different. Lighter. Freer. Emily was waiting on the porch. She saw me coming and ran down the path. Mom, are you okay? What happened? Did he hurt you? No, sweetheart. He didn't hurt me. I think he finally understands. Understands what? Understands that I'm not his enemy. And that fighting me is a losing battle. She hugged me. I was so worried. I was pacing the whole time. I've fine. I'm more than fine. I'm free. We went inside. Lily was in the kitchen making lunch. She looked up as we entered. Grandma, you're smiling. I am. I have a good reason. Did you see Dad? I nodded. He's not going to bother us anymore. I made sure of it. Lily didn't ask how. She just nodded and went back to making sandwiches that we sat down to eat. It was a simple meal, just sandwiches and fruit. But it felt like a feast. Mom, Emily said. What happens now with the book and everything? The publisher called this morning. They've decided to move forward. The controversy actually helped. People are interested in my story. Lily grinned. Grandma, you're going to be famous. I don't need to be famous. I just need to write. That's all I've ever wanted. Emily reached across the table and took my hand. You've done so much, Mom. For all of us. I don't know how to thank you. Just be happy, I said. Just be happy and I'll be content. After lunch, I went to the garden. I knelt down in the dirt and started planting new seeds. Zinnias this time. Bright, cheerful flowers that would bloom in the summer. Lily came out and sat beside me. Grandma, what are you planting? Zinnias. They remind me of my mother. She always grew them. Can I help? Of course, sweetheart. We planted together, our hands in the dirt. The sun was warm on our backs. The birds were singing. Grandma, Lily said, do you think Dad will ever change? I thought about it. About the man I had met in the cafe. The anger, the bitterness, the fear. But also the flicker of something else. Something that looked almost like hope. I don't know, sweetheart. But I hope so. I hope he finds a way to be better. What if he doesn't? Then that's his choice. Not yours. You're not responsible for him. You're responsible for yourself. And you're doing a wonderful job. She leaned against me. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know. We sat in the garden, the two of us, surrounded by flowers and birds and sunlight. And I felt, for the first time in years, that everything was going to be okay. Not perfect. Not easy. But okay. Because I had my family. I had my garden. I had my words. And that was enough. That night I sat at my desk and started writing. A new essay. The final chapter of the book. I wrote about the cafe. I wrote about Derek. I wrote about forgiveness and letting go and the courage to move forward. I wrote about the moment I realized that revenge was a cage, and the only way to escape it was to walk away. I wrote about the zinnias, and how they reminded me that every ending is also a beginning. And I wrote about hope. Always hope. I finished the essay and saved it. Then I leaned back in my chair and looked out the window. The moon was full. The garden was quiet. And I was at peace. Carl, I whispered. I think I finally understand what you meant. About letting go. About moving on. About choosing kindness. I felt his presence, warm and gentle. A hand on my shoulder. A kiss on my forehead. That he was proud of me. I knew it. And I was proud of myself. The next morning, I woke up to a message from Priya. The book had sold out its first print run in 3 hours. The publisher was already ordering a second edition. I smiled and set down my phone. Then I went to the garden and watered my flowers. Because that was who I was now. A woman who planted seeds. A woman who watched them grow. A woman who knew that the best things in life were the ones you nurtured. One day at a time. Speech balloon. Did this story move you? If it did, leave a comment telling me what part touched your heart the most. And if you believe that forgiveness is stronger than revenge, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to follow Margaret's journey, because this isn't the end. It's just the beginning.